Hello and welcome to my blog. This is going to be a brief insight of the skinning process, and here you can see I have my fully rigged character with all the controllers. I've hidden the mesh for the moment, but basically this is the skeletal rig so far. Just zooming in here on the legs. I've attached the IKs, and connected to the main ankle IK is a pole vector, which basically acts as a target for the knee. Here you can see I'm manipulating that controller, which in turn moves the knee itself. You can also see a NURB square here, which I've created, and it's pretty basic, but to be honest the rig needs to be quite basic as it's going into Unity. This has a point and orient constraint with the maintain offset and all rotation axis turned on, basically. I've done set driven keys here. I've got the foot curl, the ball lift, the toe lift and the toe roll, and it looks a bit weird at the moment because obviously the mesh isn't connected. You can see me manipulating the ball lift and the foot curl. These would be quite useful for the dance moves themselves. The character needs to have as much leeway in terms of the leg movements as possible. These are the wrist controls. All I've done is attach the point and orient constraint again and one bone for the hand. I didn't do any set driven keys for the fingers because it would be far too time consuming. Here you can see two controllers. One of them is for the root of the neck and the other for the head rotation itself, both of which have an orient constraint attached to the bones. Here is the root control, so you can move the legs down, so you can like squat essentially, and a waist control, so you can move the hips. Here I'm playing around with the mid spine, which allows them to sort of bend forward, and the lower spine. So now I'm going to be talking about skin weights. This character has already had a smooth skin bind attached to it. I just hid the mesh, but bringing it back, now you can see how it all fits together. Here's the wrist, and basically the point of painting skin weights is so I can choose which areas of the mesh are influenced by others. So when I move the wrist, I don't want it to be moving the backpack, as you can see here, but because this mesh is so tight, it's all quite snug, so a lot of the vertices kind of overlap and they get a little bit confused. Maybe I can't interpret which parts of objects are separate. So that being said, here I go into the painting skin weights editor, and as you can see there's a lot of there's a box on the left which has all of the joints. Here I'm selecting the right arm, and as you can see there's a lot of white areas on the backpack, for example. This is because the arm is giving influence to the backpack. That shouldn't be happening. It should be a solid object. So here I'm making sure that the opacity is set to 1 and the value is set to 0. By setting the value to 0, it tells Maya that you're removing any influence on each vertex point. Here are some more influences. All of these are about 0.2 to 0.5. Influences work as values, and they are all decimals, 1 being the highest, 0 being the lowest, 0.5 being the middle. I'm doing a very shoddy job at the moment, but I'm just trying to show this as an example of painting 0 values on parts of the mesh so they stay static. So I've taken influences off the arm, but there's still more on the backpack. For some reason the backpack's still bent, so now I'm going into the shoulder, and as you can see there's a hell of a lot of white. All of this needs to be taken out, and as you can see, as I paint over and take the values down to 0, the backpack starts to take more shape, but still it looks absolutely terrible. So within time, slowly sifting through each joint, you will start to see a big difference. Just touching up a little bit here. Here you can see I'm now selecting the elbow joint, and there's a lot of influences still on the backpack. For some reason there's one influence in particular which is affecting one vertex, and it just seems to be sinking into the mesh, as you can see there. I'm just touching up a little bit more here. You can see the backpack starting to take its original shape. Things are starting to look a little bit nicer. This is quite a lengthy process, but you know it's worth it at the end. It's something that needs to be done. And there you go, you can see the last influence. Now that I've gotten rid of that, you can see the backpack is back to its original state on the right hand side from the model's perspective. Now when I move the wrist, you can see that the backpack is moving a lot less vigorously in accordance with the hand motion itself. There's still a slight issue with the hand. As I move the wrist, it affects vertices on the backpack. Seems to be the vertices near to the elbow, so I'm just going through the joints to see if I can spot it. I'm just painting over, and there you go. There was just about a 0.01 influence, so sometimes you need to flood, which basically turns everything back, but we won't be doing that just yet. But here you can see when I'm moving the arm, the head seems to be moving as well, so there's a lot of vertices that are connected, because the mesh is so tight and it's all quite close together. I haven't had this problem with any of the other meshes. Here you can see I'm moving the root of the neck and the rotation of the head, and it's horribly affecting the top of the backpack. Funky little pose. It's actually really quite good to put the character into a dynamic pose, because then you can see where the problems underlie. Sometimes it's difficult to spot any issues if the character is completely static in a T-pose, for example. Anyway, getting towards the end of the video now. Thank you for everyone for watching, and I hope this has been quite helpful for you, Andy, and you have some sort of idea of where I'm up to on this. Thank you to Rano for that astronaut character. It's been great fun playing around with it, and obviously it's quite low poly at the moment, so it's going to be a little bit choppy, but I think it's quite good as it is, and when we get it into Unity, I reckon everything's going to move quite swiftly, and we're going to produce a really good game. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, and see you soon.